Welcome back to the Vale Echo. Tonight, we journey deep into the mist of Mexico's most haunted secret, a place where silence screams and the wind carries the whispers of forgotten souls. This is the Island of the Dolls, and its story begins with a boat, a warning, and an echo that never fades. The water ripples softly as three travelers row through the thickening fog. Their flashlight beams tremble across the canal, illuminating floating debris and broken doll heads drifting on the surface. The air feels heavy, too still, too quiet, as if the island itself is watching. One of them breaks the silence. "Do you hear that?" he whispers. The others listen, the faint sound of children laughing, but there are no children here. The fog parts, revealing the silhouette of the island. Hundreds of dolls hang from trees, headless, eyeless, their faded faces staring into the nothingness. The closer they get, the louder the whispers become. Wooden posts rise from the water, each crowned by a doll's head, and a decaying sign sways above the dock, Isla de las Muñecas, the island of the dolls. They step onto the rotting wood, each footstep creaking under the weight of history and fear. The trees loom overhead, branches tangled with dolls that swing with every breath of wind. Some are burned, others covered in moss, and their cracked lips seem to move as the fog weaves between them. One traveler raises his camera, snapping photos, but when he looks at the screen, one doll's eyes are glowing faintly red. Deeper into the island, the forest thickens. Strings of dolls hang like strange offerings, and the sound of dripping water echoes from all directions. Then they find it, an old cabin. Wooden walls splintered, roof sinking, and inside, hundreds of dolls lining every shelf and beam. Some sit upright as if waiting. Others hang from the ceiling, swaying gently as if moved by unseen hands. Candles still burn inside, their flames flickering unnaturally even though the air is still. One of the travelers kneels beside a small wooden table. At its center lies a single doll, unlike the others. Its porcelain face is untouched by time, its glass eyes clear and lifelike. The air grows colder as he picks it up. A whisper slips through the cabin, not from outside but from the doll itself. "She's watching." The group freezes. A shadow moves past the window, then another. The candles flicker violently, and for the first time they realize they're not alone. The doll's eyes all seem to turn at once, following their every move. The leader shouts, "Let's get out of here!" But as they rush toward the door, the island groans as if it's breathing. The whispers merge into voices, hundreds of them calling the same word over and over again: stay. And as the fog swallows the path behind them, they realize the truth. This island doesn't just keep its dolls. It keeps its visitors too. The storm rolled in like a beast awakened. Rain poured through the thick canopy of trees, pounding against the cracked faces of the dolls. The travelers huddled under the old cabin's porch, trembling as the wind howled, but it wasn't just the storm they feared anymore. It was the whispers, now clearer, now almost human. One of them, Sophia, stared through the sheets of rain toward the canal. "There's someone out there," she murmured. Lightning flashed, and for a brief second they saw her. A small girl standing by the water's edge, her white dress clinging to her skin, her head bowed, long dark hair dripping into the current. When the lightning faded, she was gone. Inside the cabin, the group tried to make sense of what they saw. Old photographs littered the table, black and white images of a man surrounded by dolls. His eyes were hollow, his expression desperate. "Don Julian Santana," read the faded handwriting beneath one picture, "protector of the drowned girl." The room seemed to breathe as they read aloud. A candle flickered violently, and the doll on the table, the perfect one, untouched by decay, began to tremble. From somewhere beyond the walls came the sound of water splashing, like small footsteps running through the shallows. Then the air grew cold. The scent of damp earth and rot filled the room. One of them turned toward the door, and there she was, the drowned girl. Her translucent form shimmered under the lightning, her eyes empty but fixed upon the doll. She whispered softly, "He left me here alone." Her voice echoed through every doll on the walls, the same words repeating in eerie unison. Sophia took a step forward, trembling. "Who left you?" she asked. The ghost lifted her hand, pointing toward the photograph of Don Julian. The dolls swayed around them as the spirit continued. "He heard me crying, the rain had stopped, but the silence that followed was worse." The island glistened under the pale moonlight, soaked and shivering. Every doll seemed to watch, their glass eyes reflecting faint sparks of movement. The travelers stood at the edge of the cabin, soaked and trembling, still hearing the drowned girl's last whisper fade into the mist. Suddenly, a low creaking echoed from the forest. One by one, the dolls hanging from the trees began to sway, even though there was no wind. The sound of strings tightening filled the air like 1,000 tiny ropes pulling against the branches. Then, a faint giggle, a child's laugh, playful and cruel. Pablo, the last remaining calm among them, gripped his flashlight and turned it toward the trees. The beam flickered across hundreds of porcelain faces, and one of them blinked. He stumbled back, heart pounding, as the doll's head twisted, its mouth slowly forming a smile. "Run," Sophia whispered. They tore through the narrow forest path, mud splashing beneath their feet, dolls dangling overhead like living shadows. Every step echoed louder, and behind them, the sound of tiny footsteps followed, quick and wet, as though something small was chasing them through the darkness. A flash of lightning revealed chaos, dolls swinging violently, some falling from branches, some crawling across the ground, their limbs jerking unnaturally. The island had come alive. They reached the dock, but the boat was gone. Only water, dark and endless, rippled before them. Behind, the cabin door slammed open, and from within, hundreds of candle flames burst to life. The perfect doll, the one from the table, now stood in the doorway, upright, her glass eyes glowing faintly blue. "She's not gone," Sophia whispered. "She's become one of them." The drowned girl's laughter filled the air again, now surrounding them. The dolls began to chant, faint, hollow voices murmuring the same word again and again. "Stay, stay, stay," the water around the dock bubbled. A pale hand rose from beneath the surface, reaching toward them. Pablo grabbed Sophia's arm, trying to pull her back, but something yanked her leg from below. She screamed, clawing at the dock, her fingers brushing against the cursed doll's cracked porcelain face. The doll whispered one final phrase, chilling and soft, "Now you belong here too." The next morning, the lake was calm. Mist drifted lazily over the canal, and the island stood silent once more. A single boat floated gently near the shore, empty except for a camera resting on the seat. Weeks later, a fisherman found it. Inside were dozens of photos, images of the island, the cabin, and in the final frame, Sophia's terrified face surrounded by hundreds of smiling dolls. And now, they say, when the wind blows across the canals of Xochimilco, you can still hear her voice whispering through the dolls, "Help me before the island takes you too." Because once the dolls awaken, they never go back to sleep.